Driver's license testers, what's the worst thing a kid has done without batting an eye while taking the driving test? Answered his phone. Yellow? Lol, yo, am taking my driving test, this nerd doesn't even know how high I am. LMFAO. My best friend's son just failed because he went the wrong way down a busy 4-lane road. Luckily, they made it safely into a parking lot and the testing administrator drove them back. Good thing no one got hurt. My driver's ed teacher said that one kid reclined his seat all the way back, put one foot on the gas and the other on the brake, and grabbed the top of the wheel with one hand and said, "Let's go." Future Fast and Furious driver right there. My best friend was coming to a 4-way stop sign in our small rural town. The tester said to go straight. So she did. Without stopping at the sign. Just drove right through without batting an eye. He basically told her, "Well, you failed. If you want to just drive back." I went forward instead of in reverse when the tester was standing in front of me on the curb. I failed. Vroom, no, I think you are going to pass me. One of my classmates in HS failed his driver's test 6 times. During one test, he hit a pedestrian. Phew boy, the fines must have been big to even try 6 times, not even counting hitting a pedestrian. I wonder if they charge extra after each consecutive failure. Yes, my brother had to pay I think like $20/$40 for his 3rd try at it, $20 or $40 I don't remember. The kids make minor mistakes, and yes, some do make scary mistakes. However, it's the adults that scare me most. Especially the seniors who are up for re-exam. Probably the worst test I've ever been on was this man in his 90s. I instructed him to turn onto a street when it is safe to do so, and he turned, narrowly missing a pedestrian. Not only that, but he was driving on the wrong side of the road. He came head-to-head with another car who pulled over to let him go. He was laughing about it, because he was under the impression that it was a one-way road. When I got back to the office with him, I cut the test short and got him back in the quickest and safest way possible. He was astounded when I told him it was not a one-way street. Me, did you see any one-way signs? Him, no, but I assumed you were going to take me on one. Huh? While I was waiting for my turn to do my CDL test, I watched a guy in a semi back into a light pole, and instead of seeing what, he gently backed into gassed it and knocked it over. Needless to say, I didn't get to take my test for an hour or so while they cleaned it up. Opposite kind of story here. When I was taking driver's ed, I was in a car that had the brake on the passenger side for the instructor to use just in case. Going 35 down fairly busy street, my car all of a sudden comes to a complete stop. In horror, I look over at my instructor, who is sound asleep with his foot on the brake. I just sat there dumbfounded. After a couple people honked real quick, he shook himself awake, mumbled a quick accelerate, and sat up adjusting his glasses. So that was fun. Last year I was making a left turn at a light, and a car swerved into my lane and hit me. Turns out it was someone taking their driver's test. I'm not exactly sure how driver's test car insurance works, but the instructor told me we had to wait for the police and take details of everything. I am guessing the driver did not pass. I'm not a tester, but I asked my tester during my full license test what was the worst thing someone had done. Apparently there was an older gentleman who drove through 3 stop signs before the tester told him to pull over. The gentleman explained that he didn't want the license, but his family was pressuring him, so ran the signs on purpose to fail, made sure no cars were coming first. Not a tester, but there was a license center next to the sporting goods store I worked at. A lot of people would come there and practice before their test out front in the straight-on parking spots. A young lady, who only had her permit, managed to mix up the gas and brake and drove right through the front of the license center. I was told later that she was even more upset when they wouldn't let her reschedule her test for the following day, since they canceled her test she was pulling in to take when she wrecked the whole front of the building. It wasn't long after that they installed a bunch of bollards in front to protect the building. I was amazed at how marked up they had gotten in the first few months. My grandfather used to be a tester. He had one girl forget which way to turn the steering wheel, and they ended up in a ditch. Please tell me it was that they turned the wrong way when they were going in reverse. When I went to take mine, the tester waited till I was at an intersection and then yelled, "Turn left." She scared me, so I did and failed, lol. When I went back to try again, she was just ripping into this girl and her mom in the parking lot. I was like, at least I'll get a different tester cause she's clearly busy lol. During my test, there was a stop sign before entering the course. The instructor just told me to drive forward and looked at me. Needless to say, I stopped at the sign, looked both ways before entering. I feel like it was a trick to see who would not stop. I wonder how many people fail because they just drove into the course without stopping. In my local area, a guy in his mid-20s failed the test for some reason. At this point in time, the results of the test were shared in the car. After being told he failed, he proceeded to get out of the car and grab an axe out of the trunk. I don't know any more details beyond that, but apparently it is why the results are shared inside the licensing building rather than in the car. Typically yes. My tester told me as I was returning the car, I'm not supposed to give you results, but you barely passed and I want you to promise you'll practice a little more before going out on your own. Requirement to pass is 83 points. I passed with, drumroll please, 83 points. Took a test with a girl who drove on the wrong side of the road and took a left turn into oncoming traffic all in the same drive. It was through my school and she was banned from taking it through the school because of that. How does that happen? Like, how do you get your mandatory hours in with a practice permit yet drive on the wrong side of the road? Okay, 3 stories. My ex drove a geo-tracker, tiny car. She pulled right into the parallel parking area and fit in so unbelievably easy. The tester made her do it properly. A girl in my driver's ed failed her test when she went to DMV because she turned into oncoming traffic. Not only was there a grass median, there was some of those skinny red/white poles for about 10 feet followed by a guardrail. Each side of the median was 3 lanes. There really was no way to miss it, but she did. On a lighter note, I did the backing up 100 feet. When the tester told me when I stopped and before I put it into park, he asked me a few verbal questions, then proceeded to give me directions to leave the area and back to the parking lot where the parallel parking test would be done. Never put the car in drive, pressed the gas, and car went flying in reverse for about 20 feet. He apologized and said, my fault for distracting you. As far as I'm concerned, that never happened. Not a tester, but I heard about a girl in driver's ed who was driving on the interstate with the teacher and 3 other students. The teacher commented that they missed the exit, but they would just get off on the next one. I'm not sure what the girl's thought process was, but this girl pulled into the grass and tried to go against the traffic to go back to their missed exit. The teacher had to use her brake on the passenger side while the 3 other students screamed bloody murder. My dad did testing for a few years and he once had a girl stop on railroad tracks. There was a train coming, slowly, but still it takes them a long time to stop, and it blasted the horn right into the car, passenger side, with the window open. This just made her freeze up even more. He had to reach his foot over to her side to hit the accelerator. Edit to add, in Canada you can do your driver's test in any car you choose because, in theory, you should be good enough at driving to not need an instructional car. So this car did not have dual pedals.